I'm going to be giving my opinions on every single fucking Pokemon. We are going to separate them by generations, and we are using the official Pokemon Pokedex, so we're going to be using the modern art, not the older art, which is kind of a shame, because I do prefer Fat Pikachu and Lapras with fangs and you know, old Charmander that didn't look anorexic, but yeah, here we go. So, number 1, and my number 1 choice per starter in Generation 1, Bulbasaur. I absolutely love this little guy. I am a big fan of frogs and dinosaurs, and I love him. In fact, statistically, I do choose the grass starter more than any of the others. Followed somewhat by water, and then I think I've only ever chosen the fire starter once if I choose Bulbasaur, or twice if I choose Charmander. Typically speaking, I choose Bulbasaur these days. In fact, my very first Pokemon game was Pokemon Yellow. I never played the others until later on. But my very first Pokemon game was Pokemon Yellow. So technically, my very first Pokemon was Pikachu. And I do not like Pikachu, but we'll get to that later on. So my first starter, because of how that game works, was a Bulbasaur. And that guy was fucking amazing. It is by far the best choice to use in the first generation games. This is widely known now. I absolutely love its Mega Evolution. That gives it kind of a... that kind of covers its major weaknesses with being a grass type. That's a real useful thing. And I love it. So let's go on to the next one. Ivysaur, same thing, just better. And Venusaur. Now, years ago, I used to dislike Venusaur. I used to like Bulbasaur up until Ivysaur and then dislike it. I thought it was too big, too bulky, too ugly. But these days, I absolutely fucking love it. I think it's badass. I would love to have one in real life. This would be one of the first starters I chose if Pokemon was real. And again, like, if you've ever seen, like, a Pac-Man frog or some kind of fat, flubby frog, that's kind of what they look like. So it's got like the same kind of fat Pac-Man frog kind of look to it, and I honestly think it's kind of cute. I know that's weird, but I think Venusaur is really cute. It's a great Pokemon, and it's my certain choice for Generation 1. Now we've got Charmander, and we've got the thin, uncomfortably thin Charmander. I don't like the way this thing looks. In the modern art. It is one of my favorite starters. It is overrated beyond belief. And it is useless in the first generation games. If I'm going to use it, I'm going to use it in later games like like Generation 6 with X and Y, since you get to choose them. I really like it, despite its major weaknesses. It's not the best, but it's really cool. But I just hate the modern design of Charmander. I think it's too thin. The face looks weird. It's lost a lot of its charm the old design had. Charmeleon, however, looks fucking badass. I love the more rigid looking head. I love how stronger its legs look, which makes sense because it's got to support the tail and the body, and this thing looks legit. This looks believable. This looks like an abortion. This looks believable. This is a really, really cool Pokemon. I love Charmeleon. It's one of the best middle stage evolutions. In fact, that's one thing that was only ever a problem in later generations. Generation 1, all three levels of all three Pokemon are pretty good. And Charizard. The single most overrated Pokemon in the entire franchise, aside from Pikachu, but Pikachu is the Mickey Mouse of Pokemon, so it's kind of to be expected, and very few people actually like Pikachu. It's just a mascot, so, but I still like it. It's overrated, it's overblown, it's not as good as people make it out to be, but I like it, and it does have one of the coolest shinies that exists in the entire game even now. Squirtle. I don't care about Squirtle. I don't hate it. I like it. In fact, I like all three of the first generation starters. Here's the thing. Generation 1 has so many amazing water types. In fact, in Generation 2, I realized that Water types are my favorite because I really struggle with choosing a water type in Generation 1 because early on there's a bunch of them and I love every single one of them. And Squirtle is just not on that list. It gets completely outclassed by other water types. I like a lot of other water types so much more. And it's just not a choice. If I'm going to use a fire type, I'm probably going to use Ninetales, not Charizard. And I don't really... I like Vileplume and Victreebel, but I don't love Vileplume and Victreebel. So Bulbasaur is the best choice in multiple ways. Whereas Squirtle just... it gets outclassed by the other water types in Kanto. Wartortle's really cool. I love the little floofy tail. I love the little weird angel wings on its head. It's basically Squirtle, but better. Again, I like this Pokemon. It just gets outclassed by the other Pokemon in the generation, you know. Blastoise, again, really cool looking. I love how dumb the fires, the shit is, the cannons. It's a cool Pokemon. It just gets outclassed. Caterpie. I have a soft spot for Caterpie. I watched Pokemon for a long time ago when it first started coming out. In fact, I watched Pokemon years before I played it. I actually only started playing Pokemon when the Gen 2 games were out. Because early on, I was a dumb kid and I didn't understand how Pokemon worked. It was too complicated for me. Now RPGs are my favorite genre. So, I love Caterpie. I just think it's adorable. I'm a big fan of insects in general. I think it's... and I love the sound it makes. It's cute. Metapod. Cocoon is better. Butterfree is cool. I haven't really got much to say about it. I like it. It's a cute little bug-type Pokemon. But I probably wouldn't care about it if it wasn't for the anime. Can't say the same thing about Caterpie, but for the anime, I wouldn't care about Butterfree at all. I don't think if it wasn't for the anime. Weedle I really like. Not as much as Caterpie, but I do like Weedle. I think Caterpie is better designed. It looks more complete. This just looks like an early stage of a Diglett. Kakuna looks so much better than Metapod. This thing is fucking... this is cool. Like, its shapes and the contorts on its shell. This thing is badass. I don't know why, it's just so much more appealing than Metapod. Beedrill. I wish this Pokemon was better than it is, because I love it. I have a huge soft spot for bees, wasps, ants, and all that kind of thing. I say soft spot, but at a distance. I wouldn't want them near me. I'm okay with bees, but wasps and ants, I don't want them anywhere near me. But I also think they're really cool and really interesting and beautiful in their own way. And this just showcases all the really cool aspects of bees. The striking colors, the striking eyes, the beautiful wings. Like, I love it. I just wish it wasn't shit. It's such a shit Pokemon. This will be my favorite early bird until much later on in the series. I love Pidgey. I have a soft spot for Pidgey. The very first shiny Pokemon I ever got was a Pidgey, and it was really early on in Pokemon Silver. Actually, no, it was really on in Pokemon Soul Silver. Yeah, I didn't get a shiny up until Generation 4. I called it Goldie, and it went through me the entire game. Unfortunately, I don't have it anymore. I've only really been keeping up with Pokemon since Generation 6, since that's when Nintendo made it really easy. Actually, tell a lie, Generation 5, because they had that whole thing where you could transfer it over through that weird DS game that you had to pay for. So yeah, I've not really been keeping up with my Pokemon since Generation 5. Most of the time, I just let them go. So that Pidgey's no longer around. Pidgeotto is just beautiful. I love this Pokemon. I have a soft spot for birds in general. But Pidgeotto is just, it's beautiful. I absolutely love just, it's so simple, yet so striking at the same time. It's got this cute, fluffy aspect to it, but it also exudes power and grace, and it's such a beautifully designed Pokemon. This thing shows the strengths of the earlier designs of Pokemon before things got overly complicated. This is really cool. And Pidgeot is exactly the same, but better. The only thing I like about Pidgeotto more than Pidgeot is the tail. I think the tail could have had like 2 tones as well, but beyond that, like maybe make the middle yellow, or actually I would make the outside yellow and the middle orange, just so it has like a bit of a balance. But I love it. I think this is one of the cool. I wish it was better. But if it was better, I'd use it a lot more, because I absolutely love this Pokemon, and I did at one point ever. It was my first shiny, so it has a soft spot in my heart for that. I don't care about Rattata. I've never cared about Rattata. The only thing I like about Rattata is the way it screams its name in the anime. Rattata! I don't give a shit about Rattata. I love rats in real life, but I do not give a shit about Rattata. Same things for Raticate. Do not give a shit about Raticate. I just don't care. Spearow is really cool and unfortunately really underrated. It's really a Pokemon that just gets underlooked because of Pidgeotto, because it's available earlier, and it evolves sooner, and it has the anime attached to it as well. But this is a really good Pokemon. In fact, in the first 2 generation games, it was one of the best, if not the best, flying type you could get early. It's really good. Fearow, it's such a good Pokemon, which makes it such a shame that it was just overlooked. I think Pidgeotto as well has the better design, but this thing is just really cool. It's a really good Pokemon. It should not be overlooked. It is stats-wise much better. It's outclassed these days, but for its generation, it was a lot better than people gave it credit for. I like snakes. I like Ekans. I like its color coding. I like how derpy it looks. I like how it's snake spelled backwards. There is nothing wrong with this Pokemon whatsoever. The same for Arbok. I think this is a badass looking Pokemon. They could have fucked up there's so many ways you could over-design this, and they would over-design this if this was a more modern Pokemon. I'm not a Gen 1er. Don't worry. I'm not going to be hating on the later generations, because every generation has something to love about it. But Arbok is just really cool. I love its Jabak. I love it the way it speaks. I love how the pattern on its body changes every generation. But mildly, so only a massive fan would actually notice that. I love it. I think it's really cool, and I just wish it was better. It's so shit. I wish it was better. Pikachu. I don't like Pikachu. I will give them this. It is a masterfully designed Pokemon. Pikachu exudes everything you want from a Pokemon. It's powerful and cool looking, but also cute. This is the perfect design Pokemon. There's a reason why they used it as a mascot, because it is perfect for a mascot. I just don't like it, and it's overblown, it's overrated, but it's a mascot, so it gets away with it, but I just don't like it. I don't give a shit about Pikachu. Next. I've upset my internet. It's going slow now. Okay, Raichu. I like Raichu a little bit better, but the thing that pisses me off about it is its tail. This could not be supported by this, and that just annoys me. The end of its tail could not be supported by the mane of its tail, and it just bugs me. Every time I see it, it bugs me. The rest of it is so well designed. I adore its ears, but its tail needs to be bigger. I don't like that. It's just a gripe I've always had with it. I like it more than Pikachu. I wish it would get more credit than Pikachu does, but it's still kind of meh. I like Sandshrew. I like Sandshrew quite a bit. I have never at any point in my life used it. I've tried, but I always drop it for other Pokemon in the area. I like Sandshrew because my real name is Andrew, and I like that it sounds like my name. That's legitimately why I've always liked it. As well as that one episode in the original anime where that guy's abusing it by putting it in this like really heavy brace and making it dive in water, which, if you don't know, it's a ground type and that actually hurts it. So yeah, it's memorable because of the anime, and I like its design, and I like the name because it sounds like my name. That's legitimately it. There's really not much to say about Sandshrew though. Sandslash is really cool looking. I really wish it was better than it was, but it is kind of shit. That's kind of all I can say about it. Nidoran is cool, but the male version is better. Nidorino is cool, but the male version is better. Nidoqueen is better stats-wise, but the male has a better design. Really cool, better color palette, better design. Fucking love this guy. It has been in so many of my teams throughout the various games that it's available in. If you want a Pokemon that is good early on and still viable later on in the game, but not overpowered or underpowered, this is your Pokemon. Especially when it evolves into fucking Nidoking. This is one of the coolest fucking Pokemon of this generation. I fucking love Nidoking. It is bad fucking ass. I just, everything about it. Its colors are amazing. Its design and proportions are amazing. The spikes are really cool, and I like how they're kind of rounded, and they're not just spiky, but they're rounded. It's a badass fucking Pokemon that just appeals to my little boy inside. I fucking love it. It's a great Pokemon. It looks like it's great Pokemon in battle. It looks amazing. It's really balanced and well done. It is the perfect Pokemon. It is really good. I adore Nidoking. Clefairy and Clefable got a lot better with the furry type. They kind of pale into comparison to other furry types, but I have used the Clefable in one of my playthroughs of X and Y. It's pretty good. I like it. I like how funny it is in the anime and how derpy kind of like some of the adventures are with it. It's basically an alien, and there's like a mild sassiness to it as well. But at the same time, it really does get overshadowed and outclassed by other Pokemon. But it is cool. I do like it. Vulpix. This is my choice of fire type when I play the earlier games. I love Vulpix. I loved it in the anime. I love the way it looks. Again, there's so many ways they could overdo this with the tail. There's so many ways they could underdo this, but I just think it's perfect. I love it, especially when it evolves into Ninetales, which, much like Charizard, has one of the coolest fucking shinies. And I have one. I was breeding it back, I think, in X and Y. In fact, there's a video on Facebook. I'll see if I can try and download it and put it in this video. There's a video on Facebook of me finally getting a shiny Vulpix and celebrating. I was at it for like 2 days straight, or maybe even more than that. And I was actually doing it at the same time another my friend who kind of commented underneath like, "Holy shit, you lucky bastard!" I got it with almost perfect IVs. It was missing like one good one. I think I actually bred a better one that was perfect IVs, but it didn't have the shiny. So I used that one for competitive, but this one I used in like my main games. I've still got it. It's currently transferred over to Sword and Shield. I think I named it Mizuki. Apparently that's a Naruto name. I don't watch Naruto. I just looked for a cool sounding Japanese kind of name, and that's what came up. So I named it that. I got it in a love ball, so it's got like this pink heart thing that pops out when it comes out. It's black and blue, but not overly done. It's got like this great ghostly feel to it. Honestly, this thing should have been Fire Ghost. I love Ninetales. It is an amazing Pokemon. It is one of my favorite Pokemon. It's one of the few fire types I feel this way about, and this is the main reason I do not use Charizard. Like, it's not amazing. I had to kind of like breed a perfect one with Drought and fucking like Solar Beam and Hypnosis and things that it can't get naturally in order to make it viable in the newer games, because it's kind of underpowered like a lot of the older Pokemon are, but I still fucking love it. Before I move on to the next one, I will edit in that clip of me if I can find it. Anyway. Jigglypuff. The anime is the only reason why this thing is popular. It is terrible. It looks kind of cool. I like how kind of round and perfect for a plush it is, but that's kind of like all I can say about it. It's funny in the anime, and that's it. Wigglytuff is the same thing, just with much more sass. It's funny in the anime. That's all I can say about it. I like Zubat, but I like Zubat because of Generation 2 onwards. Zubat unfortunately gets a bad rep for it being a very prolific Pokemon in the original series of games. It's a hard Pokemon to train, but once they added Crobat later on, it is a Pokemon worthy of training. And I like bats in general. But I just like how simple it is as well. Again, this is another design of a Pokemon that would be over-designed today. Golbat looks dumb, and it is the main reason I do not use a Zubat in the earlier games. It's worthless until Gen 2 onwards. I don't like Crobat. I think its mouth is ridiculous. I like Oddish. Obviously, I like it more since Nuptop became a thing, but I do like Oddish, but Venusaur is better. Same thing with Gloom. Vileplume looks badass, but again, Venusaur is better. I've always had a soft spot for Paris. I love bugs. It's just a shame it's shit. Pretty much the only reason I catch it is to use Cut. That's it. Parasect, I love the lore behind it. It's basically a mushroom parasite that is controlling a dead, like zombified, a dead crab thing, and is using that as to move around. It's cool, but it's also shit, unfortunately, so I don't use it. Again, I love Venonat. I love its design. I'm a huge component for Venonat evolving into fucking Butterfree and Caterpie evolving into Venomoth. I honestly think that's a legitimate theory that people thought of. I think that probably was the case. Or at least they were designed around each other initially. I think it's cute. I love this adorable little fluff ball, and I love its little fangs, and it's just, it reminds me of an insectoid Captain Caveman. I love it. Unfortunately, it's a first generation bug, which means it's shit. But I love it. Same thing for Venomoth. Venomoth, unfortunately, gets really overshadowed by Butterfree, despite Venomoth being a much better Pokemon. But it's still shit because it's a Gen 1 bug. Diglett is God. This is a really awful looking Pokemon that is hilarious in the anime and is surprisingly really fucking powerful. This thing wrecks. And I don't like it. I've used it once. Much later on in the generations. I used it once and it wrecks. But I fucking look at it, dude. It looks like somebody's just poking their finger through something. Dugtrio is the same, slightly better, but also just dumb. It's a stupid Pokemon. I don't like it. But it's very good. But I don't like it. Meowth is great. I've always preferred Meowth over to Pikachu. One of the best Pokemon in Generation 1 because of Team Rocket, but I also just really like it. I also like its gimmick of being the coin toss or payday. I've actually, and on top of that, Persian is one of my favorite Pokemon to use in the first generation games because of how they worked. This thing in the first generation game was fucking powerful. In the first generation of games, crit chance was based on speed. The higher your speed, the higher your crit chance. This thing also knew Slash, which increased the chance to crit, meaning this thing crit like 80% of the time, maybe even more. It was amazing in the first generation. And being a normal type, it could learn a lot of moves, which, because of the way Generation 1 worked again, a lot of these moves were classed as physical because of their type. And not because of making contact or not, which wouldn't be changed until Generation 4. Persian is really cool. I love Meowth. I love Payday. I've used this Pokemon a lot in the first generation games. I think it's a great Pokemon, and I'm really upset that it kind of crashed and burned in later generations, because I love to still use it. I think Persian is amazing. Psyduck, one of the few Pokemon to be available in every single game. I used it once in a Black 2 playthrough, and it was pretty good. The main reason I like Psyduck is because of Misty Psyduck from the anime, but you know, it's pretty good. It's kind of like a Pokemon I like whilst watching the anime, but again, if it wasn't for the anime, I wouldn't give a shit. And unfortunately, I don't give much of a shit about Golduck. When it pops up, I really don't give much of a shit about Golduck. It's basically Psyduck without the nostalgia attached to it, and while my computer's playing up again. Okay, we're back. Apparently, my internet got offended at me shitting over its favorite Pokemon, so it shut down. But I'm back. I kind of like the kind of reptilian bird mix. Like, that sounds like something that will be right up my alley. I do think it's got a kind of cool design, but it is a failure of early Generation 1 simple design. This thing needed more. It needed some kind of back frill or something on the tail or some kind of pattern on its stomach. It needed something. It actually looks naked. There's something about it that does not look complete. And yeah, it needed something else on it. They could have made it into a capper or something. They could have done so much more with it to make it cooler than it actually is. I've used one. It's pretty good, but it's very underwhelming for other choice of water types. So yeah, I'm not huge in it, and I think the main reason I like Psyduck is because of the anime. I'm a huge fan of Mankey. I've used it a lot, especially early game, because, you know, double kick is very, oh, sorry, low kick is very good against Brock. I've used it quite a bit. Unfortunately, it's a Pokemon that falls off later on in the game and becomes kind of shit. You really need to swap it out with a better fighting type, but I've always liked this thing. It's this is just, you don't really see this a lot, really. This is one of the most Pokemon-looking Pokemon. You'll often find that when people make Fakemon, you can tell the animal it's based on. I mean, obviously this thing's a monkey, but it also looks like a fucking pig. There's just, it's so weird looking, but it works. And even its scream is like a mixture of, like, grunting like a pig or a warthog even, and the screech of an angry monkey. There's just, it's such a well-realized Pokemon. I love it. I really do. I like it a little bit less when it evolves into Primate, because I feel like losing its tail and these arms looking like some weird kind of human arms kind of ruins it. Mankey is a much better looking Pokemon than Primate. It's one of the reasons I don't use it that much and tend to get rid of it after Brock. But yeah, it does fall off. I like Mankey a lot more than I like Primate, but it's a Pokemon that I'd like to see get a bit of a boost. Growlithe is really popular, much more popular than Vulpix is, because it's a good doggo, and who doesn't like a good doggo? It's a fire doggo. This is like this is one of the most popular Pokemon in the early generations, because who doesn't love doggos? And so many people's favorite type is fire, just because fire sounds cool. To me, fire sounds dangerous. Fire would not be my first choice as an early trainer. Arcanine is the legendary Pokemon. It's one of the very few I think it's the only non-legendary to get that name. It is a fucking guardian dog. It is a dog with tiger elements. It is badass looking, but I prefer Ninetales. that's honestly what it comes down to with Arcane. I love it, and I probably like it a lot more if Ninetales didn't exist, but Ninetales just appeals to me so much more, and has a much better shiny. This thing just looks like Pikachu when it's a shiny. It's weird. Poliwag is adorable. I love Poliwag. Again, I'm a fan of frogs, so a tadpole Pokemon is my thing. I just think it's a beautiful, simple, roundy design, classic kind of Gen 1 kind of looking Pokemon. Could have done more with its feet, but maybe giving it arms, but I like it. Poliwhirl, again, classic design. This is one of the most Pokemon looking Pokemon in the series. Love it. It's great. Poliwrath, I also love. If I'm having a fighting type Pokemon in my run through of the first generation games, Poliwrath is my go-to, quite frankly, because you don't have to trade it to evolve it, and it looks amazing. I love the idea behind it, and I love the design. Again, they could have done a little bit more with the feet. There's a little bit more they could have done with this. I think this is too under-designed, but it's still very, very cool. And that being said, Politoed would completely replace it, because I fucking love Politoed, and it's better designed, and it's overall a better Pokemon. And once they added Politoed, I would never use this guy again. Abra, annoying little shit, it's a pain in the ass. Kadabra, really cool, I've used it a few times. Great Pokemon. Broken as fuck in the early games, which is one of the main reasons I don't tend to use it. But it is really cool. Great design. Absolutely fucking love it. Just a bit broken. Better in the later games. This guy's cool. I missed the tail, though. I actually think Kadabra looks cooler than Alakazam. The beard's better. The tail's better. Everything about it just is better looking. This guy's a bit too sleek. But it is it is good. You know, it's Alakazam. It's a great Pokemon. I feel much more towards Kadabra. On top of that, I've also done runs where I don't evolve it because I don't have friends. So I've used this guy much more than I've used an Alakazam. Until later games where I had like 2 DSs and just trade it between myself. I don't care about that matchup. I'm just gonna say I don't care about this thing. It looks weird. Machoke looks much better. This is my favorite stage in the line. I think Machoke looks cool. But again, I would never choose this over Poliwrath. Matchup looks weird. I think it's just the face. I think that's what it is, because this guy has a very similar face, whereas this thing looks more bestial. It reminds me of an ogre or an orc or something, but this guy just... What is that face? He looks like Mr. Popo from Dragon Ball if he just went buff, like... And then that waist... I don't know. It looks better in the Pokken Tournament, but I don't like this thing. Bellsprout, he's a little weedy derp. I like Bellsprout, he's cute. Goes downhill with Weeping Bell, and it really goes downhill with Victory Bell. I like it, but I would never choose it over Bulbasaur, and I would never choose it over Oddish. But Bellsprout is adorable. Tentacool, I've actually used it. It's pretty good, but I hate this thing more than I hate Zubat. Tentacruel, same thing. Geodude. I want to use this guy every time I see it, but in the earlier games, I have to trade it to get the really cool evolution, and in the later games, there are better choices. Graveler is basically just Geodude, just less appealing. Golem is amazing. I love this fucking thing. This guy looks badass, but I've never used it. Because in later games, there were just better choices. So I don't know whether it's good or not, but I've never used it. Ponyta is really cool. It's like the only choice for a fire type in fucking Generation 4, unfortunately. But it's pretty cool. But it gets completely outclassed by the other 2 wild fire types. Rapidash is badass, really cool, shiny, but again, it gets outclassed by the other 2. Slowpoke! Remember me talking about Generation 2 and I have a really tough time choosing a water type? This is one of the early ones that shows up, and I fucking love Slowpoke. It is one of my favorite Pokemon. I love how derpy it is, and memeable it is, and I also love how good it is. Slowpoke is one of the rare, derpy joke Pokemon that is actually really fucking good. Slowpoke is great. Slowbro, same thing but better. I love this guy. I've used this guy so many times. Psychic Water. That is incredible, especially in the early games. Psychic Water is incredibly tanky, and hits really fucking hard. Amazing, amazing Pokemon. I absolutely love Slowpoke and Slowbro. They are some of my all-time top favorite Pokemon. Magnemite. Never used to like this thing, though over time I've grown to quite like it. Magneton less so, because it's just 3 Magnemite stuck together. Oh, Pokemon Generation 1 designs are so much better, guys. No, they're not, because we had this kind of shit. This is ridiculous. That being said, it is much, much better than its Generation 5 equivalent Kling Clang, or whatever the fuck it's called. It looks nicer to look at, but yeah, it's like Magnemite is cute in its weird way, and it's unique looking and kind of interesting. This thing is just like 3 of them stuck together. It's dumb. I really like Farfetch'd. I've liked Farfetch'd for a long, long time. Unfortunately, it is both rare and shit, so I've never used it until Generation, like, what? Are we on 7, 8 now? Whatever. Dodrio! Dodrio was another Persian. Doduo. Doduo and Dodrio was another Persian. This thing was amazing in the first generation. Especially, this one was even better, because not only was it a flying type, which was useful, but it could learn fucking Tri-Attack, which was broken. This Pokemon crit like a motherfucker. It crit for days. It had some really useful moves. It's a great Pokemon. This was the Pokemon that I would usually end up replacing Pidgey for. This thing is amazing. And I am so sad that it ended up just completely dropping downhill in later games, because in the earlier games, Dodrio was the shit. I love this thing. Seal is the dumbest Pokemon to exist until much later generation. It is a seal with a spike on its head and fangs. It is called Seal, just misspelled. It is so fucking stupid. This right here, everyone shits over Voltorb and fucking Muck. This thing right here is the reason why Generation 1 design arguments were, Generation 1 designs were the best arguments are fucking stupid. This thing is dumb. In every conceivable way, this thing is dumb. Dugong is better, but it's still shit. I'm sorry. It's just, no. Honestly, I look at this Pokemon and I think like Simpsons or a Futurama. It just has that look of a dumb Simpsons or Futurama kind of character that shows up because it's cute and then gets killed. I cannot take it seriously. I like Grimer. I'm gonna go out and say it. I like Grimer. It's the generic sludge type monster that you find in every RPG, but I like it. It's just a shame that it's shit. Same thing for Muck. I really like Muck. I really liked Ash's Muck. I think it's a really cool Pokemon. I love the idea of a sentient slime creature. It's just a shame that it's shit. Shelder. I don't really care about it. I don't care about it. Cloyster. Don't give a shit. Ghastly. Alright, Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar used to be some of my favorite all-time Pokemon. These are Pokemon I used pretty much in every generation. Although typically I would stick with Haunter because I couldn't evolve it. Eventually I did start using Gengar like from Generation 4 onwards. And I would have them in like every party ever made. I fucking love this Pokemon. I think it looks badass. I think it's really simple but cool. I just... it has so much personality. And with abilities like Destiny Bond, Hypnosis, Dream Eater, it could be an absolute pain in the arse to deal with. It could be such a troll Pokemon to use in competitive. The problem with it is I used it so much I got super bored with it. It was Charizard before Charizard. This thing I overplayed for myself, and I eventually got really fucking bored with it, and I stopped using it, and I haven't used it for several generations now. I think Gen 4 was the last time I truly used it. Which is a shame, because I still really love it, and I've just overused it at this point. Onix. I fucking love Onix. I think Onix is amazing. There's just something about this giant rock snake, and its sound in the enemy. It's this colossal presence, and there's something about being a kid and thinking about sitting on the top of this, grabbing hold of its big horn and just charging across the landscape on the back of this thing, the ground crumbling beneath you while it roars. This thing is the coolest fucking Pokemon. Like, it's so fucking cool. It's just a shame that it's so shit. It is a terrible Pokemon. Its only fucking major point is defense. And it's useless. It is a terrible fucking Pokemon. I wish it was cooler. Onix is a Pokemon that really needs an upgrade. I love Onix. Drowsy, I've used it before. It's an easier to acquire, easy to evolve Alakazam. I don't like it. It's just kind of meh. Hypno I really don't like. I mean, at least this thing is kind of cool, but this thing, no. This thing is, no, fuck that. Krabby is a little derp, pretty good HM, a slave, I like it. Kingler, same thing but better, no complaints. It's an okay Pokemon. It's not amazing, it's not terrible, it's memorable, it's alright. Voltorb, I like Voltorb. It's people who complain that it's terribly designed. I agree, it is terribly designed, but we'll get to a Pokemon in the later generations that I kind of like because of how stupid it is. Like, it goes past the level of being so stupid and into kind of like Tommy Wiseau The Room levels of entertaining. It's so bad it's good. And I feel the same thing about Voltorb. It's a dumb gimmick Pokemon, but I like it. Electrode, not so much. This thing has personality. It's amazing, like, the human brain is amazing. They literally just put angry eyes on a Pokeball and suddenly it's humanized. It's really cool. This thing is dumb. That's it. Execute, it has a surprising amount of personality, but it's dumb. Executor is a Pokemon I would not like in the slightest until much later on. When we'll eventually get to that, but no. I don't like Exeggutor. I think it looks stupid. All its attention is up here, and then it's like they started to design something around the head, then got bored halfway through and just gave it a generic Generation 1 boss. Like, this bit could have turned into something cool, and it ended in this. Like, no. It just feels rushed. Cubone is adorable. One of my favorite all-time Pokemon, one that I grew to love much, much more later on. Cubone is great. No complaints about Cubone whatsoever. It's one I've used many, many times, and I'm actually kind of upset when it evolves into Marowak, because Marowak just isn't as cool. And honestly, the main reason behind that is the head. There's something about this little dinosaur wielding a bone as a weapon and having a skull as a helmet that is lost when that skull helmet looks more like its face. It looks less cool when that hole in the skull, the eye hole in the skull, goes away, because it doesn't look like a mask anymore, and it looks like its face, which then looks weird. And that's the problem I have with Marowak. Cubone is badass and really cool and well designed, whereas Marowak kind of loses what makes Cubone so good. It also loses the whole Cubone's mother kind of story aspect that makes Cubone so good. And it's like, I don't know about you guys, but every time I play Generation 1 games and I go into the tower and I hear the story about like Team Rocket killing Cubone's mother, I want to catch a Cubone and pretend that that's the Cubone, you know? Like, come with me, buddy, come on. You've lost your mother, but you'll gain a new family. You come with me and my friends. We'll go on adventures together. Hitmonlee, we're moving on to next. Is this working? Is this going to crash again? It seems to crash every few entries. It's a good job I'm separating this by generation. So the internet went again. Hitmonlee versus Hitmonchan. Hitmonlee is cooler. This is kind of like the opposite of Exeggutor, I think it's Exeggutor, where, as you can tell, like, its legs look so similar to the bottom half of Exeggutor. You just swap this body around so the fatter bit is the bottom, and attach those legs, and like right there you've got Exeggutor. See what I mean? But this is like Exeggutor done well. There's something about just removing the head and attaching eyes to a torso that works. This is a Pokemon that would have been super weird and freaky, but they pulled it off. Hitmonlee is really cool. Hitmonchan, however, is dumb. I don't like Hitmonchan. I think it's stupid looking. It looks too human. It's wearing clothes, and there will be Pokemon later on that are wearing clothes that I like. So people might bring that up, but it's like these shoulder pads look like armor, but it's part of its body. Like the legs look weird. Like, no, I don't like it. Lickitung. I fucking love Lickitung. It's so cute. It's so derpy. It's like, it's got so many of the same qualities as Slowbro and Slowpoke. And you can see like the same face as Dugong, only it's attached to a better Pokemon, a much more creative Pokemon. I love this thing. This thing is great. I've used it once before. It took me ages to get it, because you can only get it like right at the end of the first generation games. But I actually used one in my team at one point. It wasn't amazing, but I loved it. It's really cool. I love a lot of normal types. Normal types get a bad rep, but yeah, I love Lickitung. Lickitung's great. Coughing. Don't give a shit about coughing. Wheezing. Don't give a shit about Wheezing, which says a lot because these were anime characters. Don't give a shit. Rhyhorn. Here we go. We have another Nidoking kind of character. Rhyhorn and Rhydon. This right here was apparently the first Pokemon to ever be designed. And it shows. Because this encapsulates everything about a Pokemon in the first generation. We've got these little spikes, we've got these plates, we've got these rounded angular designs, we've got the same triangular eyes, we've got the simple fangs. Everything about this is Generation 1 design. On top of that is a really good Pokemon that is still amazing to this day, that I absolutely love using. One of my all-time favorite Pokemon, especially that this guy was one of the main things that made me kind of warm to Pokemon Let's Go. I think Let's Go is a spin-off, and I'm so glad that that's not the direction the main series went. I hated the motion controls, but the riding on top of Pokemon, dude, I want to see that in the main series. I want to be able to ride on a Rhydon or on the back of a Rhyhorn, like on my team in the main series. I love it. I just this has the quality of Onix, of being this big, really cool designed, kind of badass, powerful looking thing that's still got an element of cuteness to it, that you can just picture yourself sitting on the back of and riding and going on an adventure with. Only it's better than Onix because it's actually fucking good and always has been. Great Pokemon, great design. It's perfect. Everything about Rhydon is amazing. I love this Pokemon so fucking much. Nothing needs to be added to it. It's fantastic. One of my favourite Pokemon. Love this thing. Chansey! Chansey's great. Chansey is a staple of Pokemon in both the competitive side and the anime. It's a memorable Pokemon because of how much of a bitch it was to catch. It was a memorable Pokemon in Let's Go because of how great it was for farming experience. It's just a memorable Pokemon. They've used this Pokemon so well over the years, and it's great. You know, it's not a Pokemon you want to use in your main battles, but it's a really cool, like, classic roundy pink Generation 1 design style Pokemon. It's great. Love it. Tangler is forgettable for a reason. Kangaskhan. I like Kangaskhan quite a bit, but kind of Nidoking and Rhyhorn kind of fill in its same ballpark. And there are much better normal types that you can choose, and much easier normal types to obtain. I like Kangaskhan a lot, but there's a reason why it never really shined until Generation 6. Horsey. I adore Horsey. I like Horsey quite a bit. Unfortunately, it does lose a lot of its kind of appeal when it evolves, but nowhere near as much when they add I was going to call it Seadra. Horstra? The Generation 2 evolution. When they added that, I can't even remember its name. That's how much I give a shit about it. Like, I like Horsey a lot. I feel as if it loses a little bit of a lot of its personality and its likability when it evolves into Seadra. But Seadra is also really fucking cool. It's when it evolves into its final stage I don't like it. Goldeen, it's a stupid fish. Seaking, it's a stupid fish. Staryu, amazing Pokemon, but boring design. Stormy, one of the best generation Pokemon you can get, and in every single fucking game, this has been one of the most powerful Pokemon you could possibly have on your team. But it's boring to look at, so I never use it. Mr. Mime, fuck off. Cypher, oh dude, when I was a kid, this was my favorite Pokemon. And it wasn't until years later that it was changed. And Cypher, I love this. This was the first bug type to not be completely shit. Now keep in mind, it was still completely shit, but at least it was okay-ish. Cypher, like, it got where it was because of how cool it looks, and that's it. It is a mix of, like, a lizard or a crocodile or a dinosaur and a fucking praying mantis. This thing is badass. Like, everything about this thing. Like, if I ever train Pokemon in real life, this is one of the ones I want on my fucking team. This thing looks amazing. It is so far up my alley, it's unbelievable. It's just a shame that it was shit until later on. Jinx, forgettable. Electabuzz, I like it, but it was one of the few Pokemon that Generation 4 actually improved. Magmar, don't really care. Pinsir, Cypher's better. Tauros, great Pokemon. It's a bit boring to look at, but it has like the same kind of appeal to it that Persian and Dodrio has. Versatile Pokemon that hits like a truck, and unfortunately lost its power after Generation 1. Magikarp. I have a strong soft spot for Magikarp and always have. In fact, it's the first Pokemon plushie I owned in adulthood. I've got it in the other room on top of my cabinet. I love Magikarp. I've used Gyarados a lot in my playthroughs. I'm also the kind of guy that pays the 500 Pokemon Pokebox to get Magikarp early on. So that means I get Gyarados early on, and Gyarados early on is really good, even if it takes a while to get like a good moveset. Like, Magikarp is the perfect example of dedication and effort breeds good results, because eventually you're going to end up with one of these guys. And not only is this guy really fucking good, but it is badass to look at. This is an amazing looking Pokemon. I fucking adore Gyarados. Yeah, and again, it's one of the issues I have with Generation 2, because I want Red Gyarados on my team. And I have difficulties choosing that between other Pokemon. Namely, Lapras. This is one of my top 10 favorite Pokemon. I have used Lapras so fucking often. It is one of the few times Ice is actually good, due to being balanced with a very tanky Water-type Pokemon. Really good moveset. Even for Generation 1, Lapras had a good fucking moveset. Really cool, classic design. I hope they never change this. I absolutely love it. I do miss the fangs it used to have in the older generation, but like it's great. I fucking adore Lapras. I've used it a lot. There's not really much I can say about Lapras. Like, typically speaking, I've used Gyarados a lot, but I almost always end up replacing it for a Lapras. Because I fucking love this thing. Ditto! Ditto is one of the favorite Pokemon of every breeder out there, and that's what I am. That's like the thing I get really into. I get heavily into breeding and completing the Pokedex. I love Ditto, but purely for mechanics. Like, that's it. Eevee, my favorite Pokemon. I love this thing. It is hard. Very, very hard for me to play a Pokemon game where I can get Eevee and not use Eevee. The amount of times I have had a Jolteon on my team, because whilst Vaporeon is my favorite of the evolutions, it's another water type. And I have a really hard time choosing a fucking water type in the original game, in the games, because they're my favorite type. I love a lot of them. It's also an amazing Pokemon in Pokemon Conquest, which is the best by far Pokemon spin-off that we really need a new one of. Pokemon Conquest is amazing, and Vaporeon, let's just jump over to Vaporeon. Vaporeon in Pokemon Conquest is just mwah, so good. But I love Eevee. It's my favorite Pokemon. As you might be able to see behind me, I've got a huge Eevee collection back there. I love it. I always have. This, to me, is Pikachu. Without the abundant popularity and marketing, but still has that, so I still get to get my merch. It's Pikachu, but better in every way. I love so much this Pokemon. I love Eevee. I love its design. I think it's adorable. I love how I can use it in like every Pokemon playthrough and do something fucking different with it. It's great. Has so much versatility. No matter what your team is, you can probably fit an Eevee in it, which is fucking amazing. I love this Pokemon. Love Vaporeon. It's my favorite of the evolutions. I don't use it as much as I like because, again, the water Pokemon issue. But, again, if I was a Pokemon trainer in real life, I'd want one of these on by my side. Jolteon is typically the Pokemon I go with, because it's one of the best Pokemon early on. I tend to not like electric types, except this one, especially in the earlier generations. And because of its speed, it crits constantly and hits like a fucking truck. Jolteon is fantastic. Very, very one-note Pokemon. It deals electric attacks and that's it. Until later games, it was kind of very limited, but it is very good and it usually fills in the team. I love Flareon's design. I think it's adorable, but it is very shit until later generations. Porygon! Porygon is kind of cool, but forgettable because it's usually really annoying to get. Omanyte, get your memes out your system right away. Omanite's pretty cool. I like it a lot, but I usually choose the other one. Omerstar, same thing. I like it a lot. I'm a big fan of like prehistoric life and fossils and all this kind of thing. And I had an Ammonite as a kid. I bought it from a museum at one point. I just thought it was super cool. These things were amazing. Kabuto, this is my usual choice, but not for this stage. This stage is boring and stupid. Kabutops, however, is fucking amazing. It's a cipher, but usable. Again, though, it's another water type, which brings in the problem, and it's a water rock type. And Rock is a Pokemon with a lot of weaknesses. It's a Pokemon I really like. I like a lot, but typically speaking, by the time I can get one, I've already got a water Pokemon I like more. But it's really cool. If you could get them early on, it might actually use it in an end team at some point, unless I'm doing a mono water run, which I have done a few times. Aerodactyl. It's cool, but I would never choose it over Charizard. And I would never choose it over Dragonite. And I would never choose it over Pidgeot or Dodrio. It's cool, but you get it too late in the game usually to kind of make use of it, and there are better Pokemon. Snorlax is, for a long time, the best Pokemon in the game. Especially in Generation 2, this thing was the best Pokemon. It was tanky, and it hit like a truck. It was perfection. There was nothing you could do to stop a Snorlax. And as such, it has a Gengar Charizard effect on me, where I've used this thing so fucking much, and I love it so fucking much, that I don't use it anymore. Because I'd rather use Pokemon that I either have not abused to the point of being bored with, or new. So I love Snorlax. It's an amazing Pokemon. It always has been an amazing Pokemon, but I've overused it to the point of being burned out. Articuno, the coolest of the legendary trio in Generation 1, and also the worst. Zapdos, the dumbest looking of the legendary trio in Generation 1, and also the best. Moltres, the middle of the road. It's a firebird. It's okay. Dratini, I love this little fucking dragon snake thing. It's adorable. Dragonair, again, Dratini but better. And finally, Dragonite. For the longest time, I did not like Dragonite. I actually like Dragonair a lot better, and I usually kept it as Dragonair. I know, I'm weird. But over time, I've grown to really like this thing. This thing is Charizard, but better. That might be an unpopular opinion, but I will take derpy Dragonite over overplayed Charizard any day. And I typically do. Because I typically have a Ninetales instead, so this is usually my go-to, like right near the end of the game. It takes a long time to get him into a Dragonite, but when you do, it's worth it. It feels super rewarding. It's like the end game version of Magikarp. And it's fantastic. I love it. I love Dragonite a lot. It's one of my favorite pseudo-legendaries. I love how derpy it is and doesn't look over the top. And yeah, it's great. Mewtwo, it's the legendary equivalent of Charizard. It's super popular with edgy teenagers. And I like the story attached to Mewtwo. I do not like Mewtwo. Mewtwo but cooler. I've used Mew a few times, especially since I know the bug on how to get him in the first generation games. He's great. He used to be one of my favorite Pokemon, but he has hit that point again now where I've overused him. In fact, he's the latest victim of that, where I've used Mew so much that I don't like it anymore. I've been burned out on it, but it is a great Pokemon. It used to be one of my favorites. I love Mew. And that brings us to the end of the Generation 1 list. I might do one of these every day, but we'll see how I feel. I might want to do other things at the time, but I'm actually tempted to just record the second one right now and then move on from that, because there's not much they added to Generation 2, so it'll be a quick one. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this super lazy video. Hopefully my internet stops playing up now. And I'll see you for the next one where we do Generation 2.
I finally hatched a shiny! Ah! Alright, yes. Please let it be as good as the one I've already got. Oh, please let it have Drought. It's the new one. If it has Flash Fire, I'm going to be so annoyed. Awesome, it has Drought. Modest. It has, those moves. Sorry. Yay! She's got perfect IVs, outstanding and cannot be beat IVs in HP, defense, special defense, special attack, and speed. And there's her move pool. And that's kind of what I want to beat. Okay. Which Pokemon? Willow here. Okay then. I only got 2 minutes of battery life left, so I've got to better hurry this. Outstanding potential overall, HP, defense, special defense, and speed. She doesn't have special attack though, which is really disappointing. At level 1, I haven't trained her at all, because she's got all the moves that I wanted to learn, and when she evolves I'm going to teach her Solar Beam because she has Drought, so I can do it right away. And this is why I wanted a shiny so desperately, because Shiny Ninetales is one of my favorite shinies. It's like this dark silver kind of look, and it's so cool. There she is, and she is beautiful.